Hi everybody! CinemaCon is in full swing and we're going to go over some of the biggest headlines that have come out of the convention so far. Warner Brothers is tonight. It runs from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, it is pretty crazy to be announcing all these things on April Fool's Day. There are a number of people on social media who don't believe any of these announcements because they think it's all an April Fool's joke. Thank you to Danny and Gareth for their generosity. Hold on, my turn. I always donate 5 memberships at the beginning of the week. Here they come. Do 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 do. Membership gifting music. Do 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 do. There we go. Woohoo! All right. Thank you very much for tuning in, members and non-members alike. Please remember to subscribe and hit the like button. It costs you nothing. Hey, Elpidio. Just, a little click here and there, please. Oh, Michael. Wow. Thank you so much, Michael. And happy birthday, Clint. Must be crazy to go through life being born on April Fool's Day. Hey, Stephen Carrier. All right. So, by the way, since Warner Brothers panel is this evening, thank you, Sahib. Since Warner Brothers panel is this evening, if there should be some news out of there. So probably, unless the panel's a complete dud, expect another live stream this evening at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time after the panel to go over those as well. Oh, Sahib. Thank you, Sahib. Thank you, Zay. I'm glad you like this, my new shirt. I bought a couple of these shirts. They'll be debuting probably this week and next. I gotta keep it fresh. Gotta keep it fresh. All right, so yeah, thank you, Franco. Wow, you guys are so generous. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. So yes, we're going to go through these 3 stories. We've got 3 big stories out of CinemaCon, and again tonight, Warner Brothers will be going, and I will be keeping an eye on that as well. Because of that, though, Daredevil coverage will go up tomorrow. Resident Justice, I don't know if the Superman trailer is dropping tonight. I think it could go either way. I think it is weird to make people have to wait until after it plays in theaters. And that's an extended preview. They could drop a regular trailer. But, I think it remains to be seen what they're going to do. I think there's a chance, but I have not. Let me just check. I don't think anything new has come in. I don't think there's anything. We'll see. I'll keep a lookout for it, but I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. I honestly don't know which way it's going to go with the trailer at this point. Okay, so, all right, so 3 stories, here we go, and then, of course, as always, the end of the stream will be an Ask Me Anything. All right, so story number 1, here it comes, where to go? I got lots of pictures uploaded here. Oh, wait. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, I'm getting back into the swing of things. All right, so boopity boop. All right, so Sony was the first to go. Sony had the first presentation at CinemaCon on the first night of the convention on Monday, and I have to say I think they actually ended up doing a pretty good job. I think that I wouldn't have expected them to have really any headlines at all, but they managed to have, I think, a number of good headlines that came out of their panel. And it wasn't all Spider-Man related. What a refreshing change of pace for Sony. All right, so obviously one of them was the Spider-Verse announcement. Yes, they're still making the second half of the Spider-Verse movie. Hey, Justin. Hey, Army. So you can see that they finally dated Miles Morales' the end of his adventure for June 4th, 2027. So that's pretty far away. That's right, Sean. It's 2 years away. It's a very far time, but maybe that'll make people appreciate it more. Although I think a number of people might be like, I don't remember what happened in the last movie. Because it's not just the next film, it's not just a sequel, but it was a 2-parter. So it's a little bit of a delay. But it looks incredible, and I think obviously it should do pretty well, I think. Sony has a little bit of an uphill battle getting people interested in it again. But I think, obviously if they continue to deliver at the level they have previously, everybody will come around. So that's a very nice announcement. But then, of course, they announced the title for Spider-Man 4. Tom Holland sent in a video because he's shooting the Odyssey over in Europe. So here we go. So let's take a look at the titles. Oop, hello. All right, so let me get my arrow. So I think so it's called Brand New Day. That's based on it's a comic book title. We're going to talk about that as well. But I think first off, what people noticed right away is that there's no word home. I saw somebody point out it's because he can't go home again. He's been all focused on home for 3 movies, but now forget it. You're not going home now, Peter. But I think obviously to me what's most interesting is that they changed the title treatment. Spider-Man was written the same way for 3 movies. Now it is actually based on one of the way the comic books has written the title over the years. I think it looks very comic booky, and I think all of us are really hoping to get a Spider-Man who's truly Spider-Man, who's an adult, no longer in school. I think he's supposed to be in college, but we'll take it as long as he's out of high school, for Pete's sake. It's too long. So, just Peter Parker in New York City doing Peter Parker things. I think that's really what that's what I want to see. That's right, he's even got a crappy apartment, Mika, although it's huge. Nobody would ever have an apartment that big, although it does look like a studio, so maybe that's the difference. But yeah, so I think that's exciting, and some people are saying maybe it's even the start of a new trilogy because, the title change will help indicate that. So I like that. I think that's all really nice. Now let's talk about the comic book. Now, yes, this is, for those of you who read Spider-Man comics, this Brand New Day is the follow-up story to something called One More Day. So there's Brand New Day, and then there's One More Day. One More Day is one of the most controversial comic book storylines ever done in comics. One second. Very disliked by the fans. Really, the idea is that some stupid idiot at Marvel Comics thought it would be better if Peter Parker didn't have a ball and chain anymore. If he was a single guy swinging around the city in more ways than one. So they decided to come up with a way to separate Peter Parker and Mary Jane without making them get a divorce or killing one of them off. So the storyline was, well, first off, Peter Parker had revealed his identity during Civil War. Tony Stark had talked him into it to help, say, oh, people are afraid of superheroes and they don't understand, and why do they have to hide their identity? So he said, why don't you show that you're trustworthy and you don't need to hide your face? And so Peter Parker revealed his identity to the world. So that was one thing that happened during the Civil War comic. But then, in One More Day, Aunt May had died. Aunt May was dead! So, as some of you are saying, Peter Parker made a deal with the devil, Mephisto, to get Aunt May back. However, part of the problem was, and it also got him back his hidden secret identity. People didn't know who he was anymore. But the price was not his soul, but his love. Mephisto wanted his marriage to Mary Jane Watson. Part of the reboot was that Peter and Mary Jane had never been married. In fact, I don't believe ever dated. So that was that, and so One More Day, or Brand New Day. So that was One More Day, and then Brand New Day was what Peter's life was like after that. It was how he hit the ground running. Hey, Cole. So yes, Morph, it might sound like a good story. I like that Morph says, that sounds good. And Vitor says below, that sounds stupid. And A. Juliana says, I hate this comic. It is, if you are a comic book reader, it is probably one of the most famous, but also most hated comic book storylines of all time. Because it reeked of corporate meddling. Like, it wasn't done for creative purposes. It was done because they felt it would benefit the character. And also, they had to get him having a secret identity again. Hey, Volt. Hey, Christopher. Okay, so let's talk about how this would be adapted into the MCU. So let's do MCU adaptation theories. So my feeling is, so first off, Doctor Strange already fixed the problem of everybody knowing who he is. He, of course, was outed by J. Jonah Jameson, right? Everybody knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. And so at the end of No Way Home, 2 things happened. He got his secret identity back, but part of the price was he lost his relationship with MJ. They're not even friends. He and Ned aren't even friends. For some reason, Ned and MJ are still friends. But they had that really great scene at the donut shop afterwards where he tried to talk to MJ and she barely knew him. And that's very much like One More Day, in fact, or Brand New Day, and Peter and Mary Jane Watson's interactions. Now, you might notice a character right here. There she is, right there. Oh, let me get it so you can see the arrow. All right, you see this character right here? All right? That's a character called Jackpot. Jackpot is Mary Jane Watson as a superhero. It was bad. It was really bad. It was beyond stupid. And some people are thinking that maybe Sadie Sink would be Jackpot. I think that there's still a possibility that she could be Jackpot. I think that would be ridiculous. I'd be like, wait a minute. I thought you did. I would almost feel like maybe Kevin Feige didn't read the comics if he did that. Or I'd be like, have you only read Silver Age comics? Have you stopped reading comic books? I think that and then you might also be wondering, of course, how the heck is this going to fit in with Doomsday and Secret Wars? Well, I told you I heard this was a multiverse movie to a degree. So I'll be curious, this Brand New Day seems like a title that doesn't fit with what I heard about the story. So I'm curious as to what they're going to do and how they're going to reconcile this. That's right. I believe, Sean, that it takes place, right during the incursion. And I think I don't want to get in trouble, but it's like a Spider-Man multiverse story still. So we'll see who she is. I mean, I heard that there were two possibilities as who she could be. And I think one would make you not happy and one would make you very happy. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I hope they take care of Zendaya. But yeah, so I think I honestly feel that the title Brand New Day is just him dealing with his new life, just like he did in this comic book. Because this isn't a really well-regarded comic. Brand New Day. People aren't like, I'm glad they're finally adapting that storyline. They're like, you're not going to do the rest of that, are you? I honestly feel it is just post having his secret identity back and breaking up with MJ to the point where she doesn't even know who he is. And that's the only reason that it's called that. Jen McMahon says, as long as it leads to Spider Island, Jackal is so underrated as a villain. Interesting, Jen. No comment. All right, so other questions and comments, please. That's what the section we're on now. I mean, as I said, I really feel that's the only reason that title is the way that it is. I haven't heard anything about Black Cat. Everybody wants Black Cat. Everybody's like, where's Felicia Hardy? Part of me feels like the Hollywood executives have just gone off the internet because they're so upset about it. And I think they're missing a lot of really important stuff. Resident Justice says, the logo reminds me of the Scott Johnson artwork that appeared in all the Spidey toys and merch of the early 2000s when I was a kid. It's very cozy. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. Oh, right back at you, Resident Justice. I read Spider-Man comics. I think Dan Slott is one of my favorite runs, and that was for a very long time. I love that. But I think I think that, obviously there are huge Spider-Man fans out there who love Spider-Man as much as I love Batman and X-Men. Let's see here. Hines says, I hope they have all the Daredevil characters like Chameleon and Kingpin and not any multiverse crap. You're going to be very sad, Hines the Adventures. Maybe in a movie in the future. I do think that Destin Daniel Cretton will do a wonderful job directing. I do feel that way. Oh, Brother Quantum, I didn't see Tom Brevert's recent comments. I wonder what he said. Steven says, can you pull some strings to get Madam Web in this? No, I want to enjoy this movie. Let's see. Wanda's attorney says, who do you think the MCU is going to let them borrow for this movie? I would hope nobody. I mean, maybe Tony Stark will show up at the end. Doomsday will show up at the end, right? And lead us into the the Secret Wars Avengers movie. But I really would like Spider-Man to stand on his own at this point. I'm getting really frustrated that he has to continue to rely so heavily. Jacob Knight says, what happened to the Spider-Verse? I thought part 2 was supposed to release. Oh, we just talked about that, Jacob. It's set for 2027 now. They announced that yesterday. Let's see. Jordan says, Brand New Day cured my love for reading Spider-Man comics. Yeah, it was that bad. It was really bad. So it's a little bit weird that they would embrace that title. Although, as some people pointed out, it's the first time that a Spider-Man movie has had a comic book title. Whereas, of course, other Marvel movies have had comic book references in the title. Although that hasn't always worked out. Look what happened to Secret Invasion. I'll never get over it. Evan92 says, hi, Grace. How much longer do you think Tom Holland will be willing to do Spider-Man movies? I think he'll do Spider-Man movies for as long as he's able. I think he loves being Spider-Man. I think he's very good at it. And I think he realizes that it's holding up his entire career. That's right, Sean, till he's 90. Matthew says this is enough web to fill the Nile. That's funny. Christopher Liverman says the Starfire ruled out. You know, I do not know exactly who Sadie Sink is playing. I have no confirmation on it. I have some options that were told to me. Firestar was not one of them, to be honest with you. But, you know, you still have to see how things come together. I liked the Firestar idea, although it doesn't work with the direction they're heading. I think this stuff works in the direction they're heading with the multiverse and incursions and stuff like that. Elliot says, as a massive Spider-Man fan, this news makes me extremely happy. I grew up with the Scott Johnson artwork too. Oh, the title treatment, right? Spider-Man was my intro into the superhero world. I have total faith in Cretin. That's interesting. It's very, that's so interesting about, you know, just like I feel very strongly about X-Men and stuff like that. I haven't heard anything about Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire returning. Just to be totally honest with you, I've heard nothing. That doesn't mean it's not happening, but that's not chatter that's going around. They're not going to film this, though, until after Tom Holland finishes filming The Odyssey. Let's see, did I miss any other? I can only go back so far on comments, so I'm going to see if I missed anything. I can't go back any further. Let's see here. Steven says, rather than try to make a meh comic into a good film, they ruin a great comic with a bad look. That's right. The Thor Love and Thunder ruined 2 great storylines. Hey, Alice says, thank you. And Danny says, has there ever been talk of DC Marvel team-ups in cinema? Ooh. I have not heard of that. I think that would be really hard to do. I think that's, I mean, they are apparently doing a comic book crossover that's coming up, but, Sahib says, isn't Alana Johnson Jackpot in the original story? You know, I gotta tell you, honestly, I don't remember. Maybe. I mean, I like Spider-Man, but I don't like Spider-Man. Like, I don't read old Spider-Man comics. I never watched the animated series, you know, the old one. I'm a big X-Men and a Batman fan, and I read, as I told you, I really got into Spider-Man personally when when Dan Slott was writing the title. I love Dan Slott's Spider-Man. I love Superior Spider-Man, where Doc Ock took over his body. That was a great story. I don't know if they'll ever be able to do that as a movie, but it was incredible. Doc Ock was a great Spider-Man. I would agree, Sophia. Spider-Man is incredibly popular, for sure. Very popular character. Oh, Lawson, Zendaya is definitely going to be in this movie. It's been confirmed. So she will be in the film. Mike, I would love for them to introduce Harry or Norman Osborn. I think that would be wonderful. Let's get this train a-moving. Let's get some classic Spider-Man stories already. I agree with Elise. I don't think Spider-Man, you know, he's too much in the MCU. Ben Verona says, whatever happened to the Olivia Wilde Spider-Woman project? I just died. You know, like they're not going to cancel it because it's too embarrassing for her. Sometimes that stuff happens in Hollywood. You know, things like, look, where's Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy? It ain't never going to happen, but they don't need to embarrass him with the headline. Faye says, what are the chances that Mephisto is finally in this? I don't think Mephisto is in this at all. I mean, I don't, let's see. We'll probably be talking about Mephisto later this year, but I don't think he's in this movie. Resident Justice says, I love Spider-Man. I've been obsessed with Spider-Man ever since the Tobey Maguire movies. I must say that I rewatched those movies to get ready for, well, I rewatched the Tobey Maguire movies, Spider-Man 1 and 2, to get ready for No Way Home, and they really hold up. Those are still incredible films to this day. Melmac says, Spider-Man and the X-Men were my two favorite comics. I collected them all until I couldn't afford to buy. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Go get Comixology. It's $6 a month. You can read a lot of comics on there. I don't really know if they should be fighting the devil in the MCU. I think there are certain things that are acceptable in comic books, less acceptable in the movie TV space. Then Danny says, hi Grace, does Disney need to make a deal with Sony to have Spider-Man in the Avengers movie? I think they have a two-way street that they've established where it's like, you scratch my back, we'll scratch yours. And I think Sony is happy to let their Spider-Man, Tom Holland, be in the Marvel movies because it helps their films, and Kevin Feige weighs in on the Spider-Man movies. Although these days, I don't know if Kevin Feige's advice is what it once was, and we'll see how this movie turns out. Although people love Spider-Man. People love Spider-Man. I know Juice says, do you think audiences will have time to digest Doomsday with this movie being only 2 months after? I'm scared they are rushing a lot of these plots. Well, no, I think it's going to really tie into Doomsday, so it's almost going to be like a two-parter. I think it's going to work very nicely. And then Elpidio says, are these MCU news diversions from Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four potentially underperforming? I think for sure. I think these are a lot of announcements that should have come at Comic-Con and for some reason are coming now. I think they're very worried about Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. I think for sure. And I think this not only distracts from those movies, but even if they don't do particularly well, everybody thinks these other films will hit. Lucas, I did see the reveal of Hasbro and Funko with Sentry's full costume. I thought it was crazy. Sentry looked so good until you hit his head, and then you were like, oh, Louis Pullman does not look like Sentry. He looks more like Squidward. He's like wearing the Sentry costume. Hopefully his performance is amazing. But I mean, his head just doesn't fit the rest of it. Paul says, do we know who's writing this movie? I don't know off the top of my head here. Lawson says, do you think Wanda got benched because Elizabeth Olsen wanted to take a step back from Marvel? I don't know about that. Squidward. Thank you, Squidward. Yeah. Mr. Magic, I hope Thunderbolts does well. I hope that this stuff all does well. I don't understand how Sentry's going to continue to be with the Thunderbolts in the Doomsday movie. I mean, let's just see what happens. There's a theory. I watched the really good How It Should Have Ended today, and they did a really good joke about the chairs, and they said maybe all these people are going to get snapped. Not so much snapped, but sucked into Doom's world, and I thought that was interesting. And maybe the character, well, we'll see. Let's see what happens. Okay, I think let's go on to the next story. Okay, I'm looking forward to Thunderbolts too. I hope it's good. Let's see. I think it's very Disney Plus-y though. I will tell you that. I think Thunderbolts looks like a Disney Plus movie to me. Alrighty, hold on. Story number 2, here it comes. Boop! Oh, just when John Wick thought he was out, they pull him back in. More John Wick. All right, so Lionsgate presented this afternoon. They did not drop a Michael Jackson trailer, as everyone had hoped, but they had other goodies for people. So, a couple of things that they mentioned that I think are important to bring up. They brought up the Hunger Games. They had a little logo moving treatment for the new film. That got people pretty excited. That book seems to be very well received, so that's exciting for the franchise. They're doing Now You See Me, Now You Don't, a new Now You See Me movie. So that's great with Ruben Fleischer returning. Ruben Fleischer, yes, he's great. All right, and then Hurry Up Tomorrow seemed to do pretty good. They had a new trailer that nobody cared about, but that came out as well. So, Lionsgate, I guess that robot over there that's running their development is doing a pretty good job because people are excited about this slate. It's so funny. They're like, let's get AI to do our development work. And they plugged it in, and the AI said, make more John Wick. And they're like, we don't need a robot for that, but that's what they paid for. So yes, they're doing a lot more John Wick. So let's talk about what they're expanding with. So it was announced that John Wick 5 is coming out. All right, now let's not forget, let me move this so it's not covering my face there. They are already doing The Ballerina, which comes out later this year. I think they're milking this franchise too much too, Danny. I'll be amazed if John Wick can handle all this expansion. But John Wick 5 is happening with Chad Stahelski. There they are filming the stairs sequence, Keanu Reeves' greatest enemy with his knees. Not stairs. So they're doing a John Wick 5 with Chad Stahelski directing and Keanu Reeves now confirmed to return. You want a poll? I don't care, Bear? I think that's pretty good. Let's do a poll. Is this too much John Wick? I want it all. And then just give me John Wick 5. John Wick 5 and animated prequel. And then John Wick 5 and Donnie Yen. Okay. By the way, anyone who's watching can vote in a poll. You don't have to be a member to vote in a poll. All right, so the fifth film, so I think that's something obviously a lot of people are like, didn't John Wick die? Which made me really hate John Wick 4, by the way. I gave it a bad review and I got into a fight with a lot of people over it. Not to say that John Wick 4 didn't have some incredible sequences. It really did. But I thought that the story started to become a little bit too self-important. I was like, if I have to hear about this goddamn table one more time, I can't take it. All right? And then also I was annoyed that he died. I was like, what did I spend all this time with you for? So that was kind of frustrating. And I said, that's a really bad ending. And a lot of people, the dragon fire was incredible. That's right, Vitor, that sequence was amazing. The nightclub sequence was incredible in Germany. They had really good stuff. And then also, I think it's funny, as I tweeted, what about John Wick's Keanu Reeves' knees? Keanu Reeves has said that his knees are shot and that he has a very hard time filming these movies at this point. And then he said, you can see his movement. The guy is really hurting. But I think, it's almost become endearing, where he's like, he acts tired because he is tired. But he's still doing a wonderful job. And so, but I hope they take that into account and he doesn't hurt himself. Don't push yourself too hard, Keanu. Don't push yourself too hard. All right, then they have an animated prequel coming out that will be done with anime. And hey Jesse, here is the announcement of the plot. So this animated movie will go back in time to tell the story of John Wick before the first film as he completes the impossible task, killing all of his rivals in one night in order to free himself from his obligation to the high table and earn the right to be with the love of his life, Helen. That's a pretty good story, in my opinion. I wonder if this will be in theaters. I think there's a large audience for adult animation. If this is going to be like, I like that Sophia's like, I want to switch my answer. I'm telling you, yeah, right? This is pretty good. I think if it could be like Blue Eye Samurai and stuff like that, I think that this could be really fantastic. And I would like to see it in theaters. I would like to see, Comixology is, yes, it's on Amazon Kindle. So, yeah, that's right, Mika. Lord of the Rings tried this, but that movie was awful. I couldn't even sit through The War of the Rohirrim. But if they can do a quality animated John Wick movie, I think that could be really exciting. I'm a little nervous because the Continental Television show was so bad, but hopefully, they do a really good job here. So they're doing that. So I'm excited about that. That's just coming together. Not too many details on that just yet. But then Donnie Yen is getting his spinoff. I love Donnie Yen. I'm a big Donnie Yen fan. So Donnie Yen is getting his spinoff with his blind warrior, Kane. And not only, this had been previously announced, and it's filming this summer. So it's right around the corner. But also it was announced today at CinemaCon that Donnie Yen will direct. So it's being billed as a big Hong Kong actioner, which I think is very exciting. I always feel that, I don't know why Donnie Yen wants to keep playing blind martial artists, because of course that was the same quirk in Star Wars. But I'm not going to say no to more Donnie Yen. Thank you, Mr. Magic. And by the way, what turned me into a huge Donnie Yen fan, and I'm encouraging you to check out these movies if you haven't, because it'll make you a big Donnie Yen fan. That's the Ip Man series. That's right, Sean. It's 4 incredible films. He should have been a Jedi, Stockley. He should have. 4 incredible movies. I've seen all 4 of them. I think they're absolutely phenomenal. I always said he was kind of like Bing Crosby if he was a martial artist. Bing Crosby used to do these movies where he played a priest. Ip Man's not a priest, but, he has that wonderful quality about him, helping his community, being a leader, inspiring people. I mean, it's just incredible. It's really strong. You can't go wrong. All 4 of these movies are great. They also highlight the very difficult relationship between China and Japan in World War II, I believe. So that gives you a little bit of the history lesson there, which is very interesting. And even with the fourth entry, they talk a little bit about Bruce Lee. Hey, Jesse Williams, thank you for gifting a membership. They talk about that element and that history and how those things all interconnect. And it's just really great. I'm glad you guys agree. My pleasure, Verdant. And I'm glad you agree, Davey B. Jones. Everyone should watch these movies. Everyone should have seen this franchise. It's not in English, but that's okay. Everybody's fine with subtitled content these days. It's just really, really strong. All right, so I think, let's see what the poll says, and then I'll tell you my thoughts on it, okay? So my thought is this too much is this too much John Wick? 42% of you just want John Wick 5. 30% of you want it all. That's pretty good. The Lionsgate computer was like, told you. So that's pretty good. John Wick 5 and Donnie Yen, some of you just want that. And then some of you want the John Wick 5 and animated prequel instead. But that's pretty good. I think it's a lot, to be honest with you. Hopefully they space them out. I don't understand how the ballerina fits into all of this, to be honest with you. We'll see how the ballerina does. I have to say, I feel that's the weakest of all of these films. But let's see how it looks when we actually see it. But yeah, that's right, Star. None was not an option. They will only give me 5 options. I guess maybe I should have put one of those in there. But I think this is going to... let's see. I really like Chad Stahelski. I think he's very, very good at coming up with action sequences. So, I think a lot of us might be like, man, but then we'll go anyway. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments about this story? Mr. Magic says, I just realized I'm now a diamond member. Congratulations! I got to come up with those new levels. Sockley, I haven't heard about Highlander filming. That's a good question. I don't, that's good. Yeah, Chad Stahelski, he's going to be so busy. When are they ever going to make that movie? Hi, Oace. Filet Mignon says, my dad is pretty excited for the ballerina and he's a super casual. Well, that's very encouraging. I'm glad you and your dad talk movies. I think that's nice. Steven says, bring Halle Berry back. That would be wonderful. I would love to see. I don't know why she didn't get a spinoff. I think that would have done better than the Ana de Armas, but we'll see. Silver Scale is excited for Warfare on April 11th. That's hilarious. We're not even talking about that movie, but me too. I'm excited for it as well. My press screening is early next week. Hey, Topher. Yeah, Davey's like, everyone wants more Halle Berry. Deep Trip says, Baba Yaga can never die. Next chapter is in hell. But I don't know. Part of me would feel they were jumping the shark if they did that. Oliver says, hot take, John Wick is overrated. What? That is a hot take. I expected so much more given the hype. What? You have to appreciate at least some of the artistry of the action sequences, I would think. But that's fine. Live your truth. Let's see. Mika, I didn't enjoy Civil War, but that's because of the messaging. I think that Warfare looks really incredible. Or a complete lack of messaging in Civil War. I really hated that movie. Ben Verona says that his boyfriend loves John Wick while he finds it hard to sit through. Well, you're a good boyfriend then for watching it with him. Psycho's never even seen a John Wick movie. Oh my God. All right, let's get to the next story. But wow, very interesting. All right. Okay. Now, I'm actually pretty interested in this next story, this last story of the day. Boom, baby! The Beatles movie is officially happening. All right. So there's a very nice picture from, Beatles movies. So let's talk about this big, bold business swing, which I personally think is going to really blow up in Sam Mendes' face. But let's talk about it. I think there's such a clear, easy fix for it that it's shocking to me they're not doing it. All right, so there's a picture from CinemaCon, and you can see they have the Beatles there, all lined up, the actors playing them. The internet got it right. And Sam Mendes is standing there with them. All right, so you've got Paul Mescal as Paul McCartney, Joseph Quinn as George. Wow, Joseph Quinn's career has really taken off. It must really stick in the craw of the rest of the Stranger Things cast. Barry Keoghan as Ringo, and Harris Dickinson as John Lennon. I think that Harris Dickinson's very well cast. You think they need to be switched around, Matthew? That's interesting. All right, so Sam Mendes. Sam Mendes, you have to understand the history of Sam Mendes. Sam Mendes used to be briefly married to Kate Winslet. He's a very strong theatrical director. He really made a name for himself. He jumped over to movies with American Beauty, which was a big hit, huge Oscar winner. Really, really big deal. All right, so that's how he got his start in the film business. Then, remember, as you might recall, he copied Christopher Nolan significantly for his James Bond movies. That's right, Mika, Nolan's single white female. And his Bond is the only Bond movie to make $1 billion so far. So Sam Mendes, for a long time, was really copying Christopher Nolan. And he even beat Christopher Nolan to winning the Oscar with 1917, which he did for Universal Pictures, which was several long takes, just 2 long takes. Long takes are all the rage these days. But Sam Mendes was one of the, most recent people to really do them in a major way. And he won the Oscar for Universal. And in fact, I think it's interesting that Christopher Nolan eventually went over to Universal himself, and he won the Oscar while at Universal. Now, Christopher Nolan is staying at Universal, whereas Sam Mendes has left Universal and is making these 4 movies for Sony. All right, so yes, that's right, Michaela. We're making 4 movies, and each movie will focus on a different Beatle. Now, let's talk about what they're going to do, and then I'll tell you why I think it's a stupid idea. So they're going to make 4 Beatles movies. Each Beatle gets their own film. They'll be in each other's movies. They said it's going to take a year to shoot these films. Tom Rothman, who used to run Fox, now runs Sony, and he said, it's like Avatar. And I'm like, I don't think it's like Avatar. And it's a huge commitment for these actors, though. These actors will be, for a year, these actors will be offline. They won't be able to do other projects. So this is a very big swing for them. Oh, Anna Sawai is Yoko. Is she cast in that? That would be really amazing if she was. All right, so they said that all 4 movies are going to come out in April 2028. And 2028 is so far away that they haven't even announced any other movies really coming out that year. The calendars online for release schedules don't even go up to 2028. They're like, who knows what's going to happen then? Well, we know what's happening here. 4 movies in April 2028 will come out that are Beatles films. I feel April is a crazy month to do that. It's spring break. Who's going to how I should spend my spring break? Watching Beatles movies. Also, it's not really an awards-friendly month. Like, if you're going to do this in, September or August. When people, August, people I got nothing to do. I might as well watch 4 Beatles movies. In September or October, you start to think, or Christmas, Mika, that's good. You start to be like, well, this is a big award swing, so I'm going to do it. So that kind of works. I don't know about November, Matthew, because in November it's the Thanksgiving holiday, and people are very busy for that. Now, Sam Mendes made a lot of bold predictions and statements at CinemaCon. One of he said was that he was going to dominate culture that month. And I was like, I don't think you're going to dominate culture in the way you think you are, Sam. I think it's going to be talking about what a big flop your movies are. I think that's probably the conversation that we're going to be having. I mean, maybe we won't, but I think that's what's going to happen. All right, so we'll see what the competition is for these films. That's right, Nico. They didn't say the exact release strategy, but all 4 films, maybe one a weekend, maybe that's what it is. One a weekend will come out for the month of April. And I think the reasoning is he said it'll be the first bingeable theatrical experience. And you know who says not so fast? Mr. Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner has tried to do this already. He tried to create a streaming experience in theaters. He didn't have his all in the same month, but they were supposed to be 2 months apart. Maybe that was his mistake. Maybe Sam Mendes is doing these all in a single month so that Sony won't have time to pull any of them. He's like, too late. You have to release all of them. But Horizon really did not work out. But that was also trying to create that bingeable experience. However, I'd like to point something out that's a big difference between the 2 experiences. That's right, Romaine. Who's seriously going to turn up 4 weeks in a row? You have to pay a significant amount of money each week for each of these films. If they were on a streaming service, you could watch not only all 4 for the price of 1 month's subscription, but you would be a subscription you probably wouldn't have to renew, if it was on a certain service. That's right, you could be an AMC A-List member, Mystic, and then it's just like binging. But it takes time to go to the movies. It's an investment in time, and also you're buying snacks. Maybe you make a night out of it. It's not free. So I feel like it has different. Going to the movies is different than watching at home. All right, so this is where I think they've really run into trouble. So they're doing one movie per Beatle. I think that is a huge mistake. I think that, to me, I can't wrap my head around how that would be entertaining. Let's see here. I can't really, it's hard to do a poll. I would need so many options. Like how many are you going to see? Chosen is doing it West the Best more, but that's because I feel that's a different type of audience. That's interesting. But, I got to tell you, the box office for Chosen is great for that kind of a project. I don't think Sony would be happy with an 11 million opening, which is what The Chosen opened with this weekend. They are wanting this to do a lot more. So each movie is going to tell the story of the Beatles from the perspective of that Beatle. And so obviously they'll interact with the other Beatles and you'll see them that way. I think that I honestly think they should have done different periods for the Beatles. And that would make me go and see all the movies. Because I'm trying to think, what would I do if I weren't a Beatle fan? How would I see this? Well, I told you before, one of my pet peeves is when they don't cover the whole life of a character. So if you did 4 movies, I could get the whole story of the Beatles. And you could do, their first craze when they first came to America, all the way through till, obviously the very tragic situation when John Lennon was killed. You want a favorite Beatle, Vitor? Okay, let's do that. Jen says, I will go out of my way for the George film. That's very interesting, because I think we'll talk about that in a moment. Hold on. Who is your favorite Beatle? Let's do who's your least favorite Beatle. No, I can't. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because I think that people are maybe going to see 1 or 2 of these movies, to be honest with you. So let's talk about the problems with this. So let's talk about the problem. Let me get, hold on. Where's my arrow so you can see it? And I'm surprised that when Sam Mendes was pitching this, no one said, you got to do by the different periods of the Beatles. You can't do a film for each character. Because here's the problem. If you're seeing the exact same, maybe they will do it by periods, but they're from the perspective of each Beatle. Maybe that's what they're going to do. That'll be interesting. Maybe he'll save himself that way. Juan says, hi, Grace. I'm glad I could join a live stream. I'm glad you could too. Maybe that's what it's going to be. Because how are you going to watch? I mean, I think you might feel you already know the story if it's from a different perspective. Obviously, they'll tell their early days, what it was like for them before they joined the Beatles and stuff like that. But I think it's hard to do it. I think, Sophia, now that I say it, that probably seems like what they're doing as well. But I think you have maybe that's what it is. That's the only way that would make sense. But I wish they would pitch it that way because right now everybody thinks it sounds stupid. Right? Like everyone's saying they're joking about which Beatles movies people aren't going to go and see. And how embarrassing would it be for that character, that real life person, if people didn't go and see that movie, right? Like there's going to be a competition, unfortunately. Hey, Nelso. There's going to be a competition, unfortunately, for whose movie grosses the most. And I just feel like, and also I think you really hurt the chance for repeat viewing. Movies make a lot of money when people who are super fans can go multiple times. But you're not going to go multiple times because the very next weekend you're going to be seeing the next film. So instead of seeing one film multiple times, you're just going to see each of the 4 films once. And that's going to seriously bring down the box office for each one of them. That's right, Bill Chris. 4 tickets is a lot of money. Maybe they could offer some kind of a discount if you get all 4. Maybe that's a way to go. Like if you purchase 4 tickets in advance, like you commit to seeing all 4 movies, you get like some kind of bonus or a discount. So we'll see. I'm just worried about it. I don't really know if people like the Beatles as much as, they're guessing that they do. Oh, that's a good poll. Are you a Beatles fan? Are you a Beatles fan? So, super fan. Then they're cool. And then, meh. And then dislike the Beatles. Okay. We'll just do not a fan. Not a fan of the Beatles. Okay. I think they're fine. I told you I feel like guys in particular really like the Beatles. Once when I was in high school for a group, I was paired up with this boy for a project. And so I went to his house and he just wanted to listen to Beatles music the whole time. And I really honestly thought to myself, is this really what we're going to do for the whole afternoon? I mean, I didn't say anything. I wanted to be polite. But I was like, it was rough. So hold on. Rodney, yeah, 4 trailers? How could there be 4 trailers? Because they would all have to play at the same time. Because it's for 4 movies. I think it would have to be 1 trailer or a super trailer for all 4 films. I like the Beach Boys too, Dane. Eminent92 says, do you think the studio will group the box offices for all 4 movies in their reports? I don't know. Maybe they could cheat that way, but they're going to be booked in different theaters, though. So I don't think you can do that. Liana says, my uncle has an entire bookshelf filled with the Beatles merchandise. Yeah, some people are super Beatles fans for sure. Armin says, what is your predicted budget total? I don't know. I mean, I hope it's low. I wouldn't make this for over 100. But for all of them, I'd be like, all 4 of your movies better cost just $100 million. But I mean, what would they be paying for? I mean, they have the rights to the music. Oliver says, it's a cool novelty, but just way too much money. I barely have enough time for movies I really want to see. That's a good point. You know, I think you might, and also what if you don't like the first one? You know, you might be like, that's okay. I don't need to watch any more of these. Nelson says, I like the Beatles' greatest hits, but 4 movies, it's a lot. Vitor, I want a Britney bio too, although I don't think her story's done yet, so I think it's hard to tell it. Steven says, release them 2 weeks apart? He said April, so he's stuck. And also, they can't bleed into May. They'd have to go early into March. Tyler, I'm not sure how they would compete during award season. I think it would have to be as a package, maybe. Winter Fang with the Yoko Ono jokes. Deshaun says, why can't this be a streaming special? It will be. Everyone's going to be like, these are eventually, because remember, Sony has a streaming deal with Netflix. It's going to be on Netflix down the road. You can just watch it then. And then Davey B. Jones says, I mean, no one's going to have any spoilers for the Beatles. You know, if you wait to stream, you can watch it on Netflix for no extra cost in a single weekend. Mexican 8 Nacho says, I know a couple of super fans who would probably watch all 4, but the cast seems okay at best. That's an interesting perspective. I think the cast is pretty good, but it's true, there are no big stars. And Mika says, learn from Costner. Just make this a streaming series. I hope someday we see Horizon Part 2. Davey B. Jones says, why isn't this just a streaming series with 2 episodes focusing on each Beatle? This might be fantastic, but a series of movies? You know, they're trying to compete with streaming, but I think that pretending to be the same thing is not the way to do it. Your little brother Gabriel would like a Leah bio. It would be, yeah, it would be. I mean, she's obviously a very famous and tragic figure. Art Lover says, do you think they will all sing? Well, they better. You know, Timothy Chalamet sang for the Bob Dylan movie. He did a wonderful job, but the box office on that wasn't great. And then Kim, hi Kim, says, is a UK, oh Kim, I know you. Let's see here. Tyler says, the movie Across the Universe, which I loved, didn't do well when box office and was big. I remember that. That was that director who did Spider-Man Into the Dark. I forget her name, actually. I thought that was a good movie as well. That's true. Elvis was good. I liked Elvis. Elvis wasn't as good as the trailers. And Julie Taymor, thank you. Elvis was, but I thought Austin Butler was amazing in Elvis. Okay, I think we're good for 10 minutes now. 10-minute Q&A. Good luck, Beatles movie. I think this is interesting, but part of what makes it interesting is that I think a lot of us feel it's going to be a colossal failure. So you're like, wow, look at them launch launch the Hindenburg. This is going to be good. I mean, we have to wait 3 years for it to have a disaster, but still. Hey, Dancing Dog 60. And then Tony says, hey, Grace, did you read Time Runs Out yet? Oh, I have to get, thank you for reminding me. I did get it. By the way, just as a little bit of a push for Comixology, Time Runs Out, which is 4 trade paperbacks, I believe. I couldn't believe it. That was no extra cost for me as a Comixology member. It was included, speaking of having a subscription, it was included with my Comixology subscription. I don't know if Secret Wars is included right now, but the Time Runs Out. All 4 trades are free for me to read as a Comixology member. So that's a great service. Nate says, why don't they do a 2-part like Wicked? No one's going to wait a year to see what happens to the Beatles, particularly because they already know what's going to happen. All right, Q&A time. Dylan, I'm glad you're reading Secret Wars. It's really going to help you enjoy the upcoming stuff more. All right, 10 minutes till 6:36. Nacho says, what do you think of White Lotus so far? You know, somebody was talking to me about this earlier today. I honestly feel, the poll's still active. I feel like the White Lotus all depends on whether or not you'd like to hang out at that resort. Because nothing's happening on the show, really. Let's see here. Are you a Beatles fan? 36% say they're cool. 28% say meh. 25% say not a fan. And then only 10% of you are super fans. But still, that's like 46% of you that are somewhat interested. So that's pretty good. Again, keep that budget low. Keep that budget low. A Yellow Submarine popcorn bucket. I guess they could have some fun popcorn buckets. That's true. Danny, the Minecraft review, which I was actually filming right before this live stream, the embargo lifts for it tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I like Giancarlo Esposito as Mr. Freeze, Rainbow Nomad. I like him a lot in that as that choice. I mean, again, some people might not like, changing the ethnicity of the character, but I think he'd be very well cast in that role. Ryan says, hey, Grace, not sure if you've already mentioned this, but how serious are you taking Elizabeth Olsen about? I mentioned it when I was covering the cast last week. I bet you she's not in Doomsday, but I would think she might appear in Secret Wars. But I can't confirm. But I mean, that's my suspicion. Oh, Steven's loving White Lotus. That's great. So is Jamomus. Rodney says, Grace, Wicked for Good tomorrow trailer. I hope so. I'm getting nervous about them not releasing trailers to the public now. I wish Sony had Cameron, Drew, Lucy returning. I mean, the ladies all said yes and open to it, but no director yet. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. I hope there's a Wicked trailer tomorrow. The panel for Universal is in the evening. Starts at 6:45 p.m. Frank, I saw the headline about Ryan Condal's response to George R.R. Martin. He said, I believe it was disappointing. Which is true. I think it was disappointing. Sahib says, Grace, what is your Minecraft box office prediction? Well, the theaters are looking mighty empty, even after the Superman announcement. So I'm really nervous how it opens. I hope it can open with around 60 like they're predicting. I would feel very bad for the movie if it didn't, because I think it's a good film. Mika, I don't know if I'm going to review Black Mirror. I think I'm going to do a review of White Lotus, though. I think I am planning right now to try and do a spoiler review of White Lotus. Bye, Vitor. Elise, I kind of like Mid-Century Modern. That's the Golden Girls LGBTQ adaptation on Hulu. I actually watch it, either before I go to sleep or when I'm putting my makeup on. It kind of gives me like a little fun sitcom that's only half an hour to have on in the background. I think it's charming. Marky Mark says, I'm reading Secret Wars, but I'm so confused by the writing style. I'm into the early 90s of X-Men from a full series. Reading right now, suggestions on how comic writing differs from... Yeah, comic book writing has changed over the years for sure, but I think, if you like early Silver Age and stuff like that, yeah, it is something to get used to. Jonathan Hickman's very cerebral as a writer, but I prefer the more current style. So to me, the very early Silver Age stuff feels weird to me. Let's see here. Oh, I'm missing a lot of questions here. Hold on here. Dancing Doug 60 says, Grace, I'm afraid that Thunderbolts is going to be a small film, pretty earthbound and only a few action scenes. Well, I hope they're just keeping it all close to the vest. I hope that's the case. Aiden says, hey, Grace, thanks so much for all your amazing content today. Oh, my pleasure. Was wondering if it's possible we might get some Transformers updates from Paramount at CinemaCon. Didn't Michael, I don't know if Michael made that, I don't know if that was an April Fool's joke or not. Paramount is going to be talking tomorrow, no, Thursday. Paramount is Thursday. I do know they are dropping some pretty cool trailers, at least one of them publicly. So I haven't heard anything about Transformers, but Paramount has a pretty nice slate to go over. Oliver, that's right, the White Lotus finale is 1 hour and 30 minutes, which I'm very excited about. Peyton says, hey, Grace, have you gotten The Last of Us screeners yet? And any further thoughts on the game after some time? Oh, I think it's a wonderful game. I thought The Last of Us Part 2 was one of the best stories I ever watched. And they have sent out, let's just say, I believe that most press going into the premiere will have seen the first episode. But otherwise, HBO is really working hard to avoid spoilers. Let me just put it that way. Dancing Dog 60 would prefer a Beatles documentary. Didn't they just have one on Disney Plus like a year or so ago? Hey, Ryan K, thank you very much. Ben, I didn't see the Together trailer. I'll try and check that out. Riley says there's a little bit of Dune 3 tea if you're interested. Was that about Jason Momoa being in there? I don't know. I'll try and keep an eye out for it there. Jesse the Good Witch says, hey, Grace, happy April. I hope you make it through April Fool's Day. Do you have any mini reviews coming up? I just want to hear your thoughts on Death of a Unicorn and Woman in the Yard. I'm not watching either of those movies, so I shall unfortunately never review them. Yeah, yo, Adrian, I will cover The Last of Us, for sure. Yeah. Although, if I don't get depending on how they decide to handle coverage, I think you might see me start to review shows the morning after, because it's very hard. Like with Daredevil, as I said, I'm going to be reviewing it tomorrow morning. It's hard to, I think it totally messes up my sleep schedule and my ability to cover other things if I have to. I'm toying around with doing some kind of like live reaction maybe right after episodes air. So I'm thinking about what I'm going to do for Sunday with the White Lotus. CT says, "Hi Grace, thank you. You're like the nighttime Wendy Williams in high school. That's very sweet of you to say, CT. Wendy Williams is of course an icon. What's with the pauses in the videos? I changed them out as you saw in the last movie math for logo wipes. So that's what I'm doing now. So I'm doing that instead, and I think people seem to like that a little bit better. It's a change in policy in YouTube and how they allow mid-roll ads to run. So I'm stuck. I'm at the mercy of the YouTube choices." Tyler says, chances of Captain Marvel and Spider-Man 4. Ooh. That's true. She is very close to the director. I think low, to be honest with you. I would advise them against that. Oh, Bermata, congrats on your 1-year anniversary as a BTT member. I love it. And then what do you think about Jabari Banks as Miles M? I'm not familiar with Jabari Banks. I'd have to look him up. But I really think it's important they get an Latino actor. Hey, Jared. And Nick says, hey, Grace, love your channel. I watch you every day. Was wondering if you think Ariana and Cynthia can repeat Oscar nominations for Wicked Part 2. I got to see it. It's hard to tell. And then let's see here. Let me get these last couple of questions. Civic Republic Military. I don't know what happened to the Michael Jackson trailer. We weren't sure that it was definitely going to come out. That was just something that people said they hoped would come out, and it didn't. Let's see here. I'm glad you're enjoying Severance, Astronomy. And then Juan says, I'm so happy how well Lifeless did on Netflix. I'll have to see that. Obviously we'll look at the ratings this coming week on Movie Math. Denise says, I like your picture, Denise. I'm praying for a Wicked 2 trailer, although the first one has a hard watch due to my phobia of it. I'm excited for the new Wicked trailer as well. Ben 10 says, thoughts on Mikey Madison on SNL. I think she's very charming. I think she clearly doesn't have a ton of range, and she wasn't as funny as maybe some of us would have hoped. But I think, she's very good at her specialty. I think she has a good persona, which is a key thing for a star to have. see. Jordan says, is the first 5 minutes of Superman confirmed at the... I don't know if it's the first 5 minutes of the movie, but it's confirmed there will be an extended look at Superman playing in front of Minecraft. Yes. And the Night Owl Hour says, saw a headline that James offered David the Superman role under the condition he's nice to... No. I don't... Where would you even hear... I don't think that's true. Sahib says, Grace, I have a busy May. Beyonce, Thunderbolts, Hurry Up Tomorrow, and Kendrick, and finals. Oh, that sounds like a great May. Rodney, are you talking about Michael? CinemaCon had like some kind of tiny poster that people saw, but it wasn't a lot. Sarko says, I like the Beatles, but not enough to watch yet another sappy biopic. Well, maybe it won't be sappy. James, I don't know where Mickey 17 is. And, the monkey didn't come out again. So I'm not sure what's going on there. It's really crazy. It's all over the place. But Black Bag came out, and I think that's a pretty good... I think that's a better stream than it was a theatrical release. Jesse says, Fantastic Four official trailer on Friday? Thunderbolts? Let's see. I don't know. I mean, why wouldn't they just release it on Thursday night? Sherm says, thoughts on Meryl Streep as Aslan in Narnia. I think making Narnia a female character would not be a good idea in today's environment. I don't know how many times people are going to keep making the same mistakes. David Kyle says, who's your favorite White Lotus character in the Carrie Coon friend group? I like both the friends. I don't like the Michelle Monaghan character very much, the actress. But I think the other two are both a lot of fun. Oh, I gotta go. I gotta work on my Minecraft stuff. And then also, if there's news this evening, I will be going live at around 10:30. Okay, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye. See you soon. Bye-bye.